And ladies and gentlemen, he's one of the all-time greats, my buddy, Mr. John Wayne.
You're listening to the John Wayne Gritcast with me, Ethan Wayne.
The hell I was.
We're talking all about the life and legacy of my father.
John Wayne.
Mr. John Wayne.
John Wayne is the United States of America.
Slap some bacon on a biscuit and let's go.
Welcome back to the Justin Booth Studios, our second hour of our celebration of the 50th anniversary of John Wayne's classic Western, The Cowboys. We'll have some questions from our studio audience and get a little more into the pranks, the stories, the behind the scenes, some of the stuff that hit the cutting room floor that you didn't quite make the movie. But what are some of the other best pranks that happened on set?
Well, I remember it wasn't really a prank, but we had moved from Santa Fe, New Mexico to Pagosa Springs, Colorado. And Pagosa Springs is pretty high altitude. I think New Mexico, Santa Fe is like 4,800, and Pagosa is like 8,000. And we were pretty good at eating lunch. And every time they'd call lunch, we'd tear ass to the wagon to get our food. And we'd go running across this field, and we got to the wagon, and we couldn't catch our breath. It was just like, why can't I breathe? It's like we didn't know about altitude, really. So that was one event that I remember. You remember something?
I remember something. It just came back to me. I was playing in a band at the time, and my little brother Billy and our friend Ronnie, who was kind of our roadie, he came out with my brother, and they brought me my car, and you know, they came on the set, and Ronnie walks up to John Wayne and goes, "Hi, I'm Ronnie. Good to meet." This is at the ranch location, right out in front of the stables. He goes, "Will you wait here just 1 second? I'd like to take your picture. Will you just wait here 1 second?" And John Wayne says, "Sure." So he's standing there, and Ronnie goes and finds me, and I'm not anywhere near. He has to run all the heck over there to actually find me, and he goes, "Come on, you gotta." And I'm busy. "No, you gotta come. The Duke's waiting to get his picture took with you." And I go, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "No, he's waiting for you to come and get his picture took with you. So you got to get over here." So, you know, John Wayne stood there for 3 or 4 minutes waiting for me to show up and get my picture taken with him in front of you know, I could barely talk to John Wayne. And my friend Ronnie shows up and like tells him what to do to like set up this photo shot. And my brother prints that picture up and distributes it to people constantly in the world. It's like money, the picture of me and John Wayne. So if you're watching this, Ronnie, thanks for doing that.
In the movie, you know, most all the stunt kids, like I said, came from that little junior rodeo association, and so here's what Holiday Inn looked like when the bus dropped us off after shooting all day. Spinning dummies, roping everywhere. There's kids all in the front parking lot, and we get $60 a week to eat on. We could probably eat on 10, so we had money to gamble with. And Cleo usually got all our money.
Yeah,
so that was it.
I was pretty naive to the ways of cowboys, the poker and the chewing tobacco and all that. But I, like Stephen, became very enamored of that whole world. I too started rodeoing and stuff for a while, but they pranked me pretty good because they knew I was this doe-eyed Hollywood kid and had never been anywhere. So they taught me how to play poker. And I lost, of course, but they were chewing tobacco. They were all like chewing this tobacco. And then I forget who it was. I said, "Well, here, try some." It was this red man. And he said, "When you're done with it, just swallow it." Oh. Big mistake. And I remember when we were doing the going away scene, when we were all departing, and I was just so on my horse, I was just, like this. I nearly lost it right there. It was pretty bad. They took advantage of me pretty good, but, it was all in good fun.
Oh, my gosh. I had one of those on location. I was actually on location with Patrick up in British Columbia, and I don't know what they were doing. They'd rented trucks, and they had like these electric drills that would go in reverse, and they were spinning the clocks back on the rented trucks that the production company used. And so I'm with these two guys, and they're they got snuff. I think I don't think it was chewing tobacco. So I put it in, and I'm in the middle. So I feel bad about asking the guy to roll down the window so I can spit every once in a while. So I just swallowed it. I was green for days.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's nasty.
Nick?
I don't have a prank or anything, but just a memory of, you mentioned Clay O'Brien, because Clay was amazing. Yeah. He was the littlest guy there, and we were in charge, Clay and I were in charge of the 60, 70 wild horses. They were, we had the cattle, and then we had the wild horses. And Clay and I, we would try to keep those horses in check and together. And I remember one time, one of the lead horses got away, and if that lead horse goes away, you just bull it out on a gallop trying to chase it down. So that was fun. And one time was very funny. Clay would like to sit on his horse with his feet up. Like his two back legs were up on the ass of the horse, right? And so I thought that was kind of a cool thing to do, right? So here I am, I put my feet like that. Well, my spurs catch the flank of the horse. And my horse just took off. And at that time, my reins were already tied to the horn, and I was just like holding on for dear life and got bucked off the horse. And I'll never forget that.
Of course, Clay O'Brien Cooper went on to win 7 world championships in team roping. So there's some things that you should do that he did.
Yeah.
He's a good role model in some ways, but that one probably not so much.
Well, I think I shouldn't have copied him doing that. Yeah, absolutely.
I remember one day, I'm sorry.
Oh.
It was very frightening for all of us. Clay was just stroking a horse's head, being affectionate to a horse like we all would. And the horse put his head down like this, and part of the reins caught a tassel on his shirt or his chaps, which spooked the horse. He threw his head up like that, and Clay went flying, over tea kettle. We were all just, but he just got right up and dusted off. I said, I'm good. Some scary moments. There were some times when things could have really gone south, Oh.
Yeah, when that happened to Clay, it was my horse that got his chin strap hooked underneath one of the buckles on Clay's chaps. And if it hadn't have been for one of the grips coming out, grabbing that horse and biting his ear, we probably would have really been in a mess. Because it was just that close to really being a wreck.
He was a tough little kid.
You know that story, Steve, that you told about the chewing tobacco? Mm-hmm. Well, I had that experience also. It was right before the bunkhouse scene. Okay. And I think the Wranglers thought it was pretty funny to not tell me that you're supposed to spit it out. Yeah. So yeah, that whole bunkhouse scene, I was green as could be. It was really bad. And another thing about the Wranglers, I had figured out how to sharpen a knife really well. I'd read about it somewhere or something, and I had the Washita stone and how you're supposed to take a slice off it on each side. And, I boasted about it to the Wranglers, and all of a sudden I had a whole lot of knives I had to sharpen.
I think we have some pictures we're going to put up too, and you guys can kind of chime in and tell us what memories you have of those as we kind of look back at some of the different things going on. Obviously, the schoolhouse here. Yep.
That's right after the chewing tobacco.
Yeah, that's what it looks like there.
So inside the schoolroom, it was just really, there was a moment. It's the second time John Wayne comes into the schoolroom and he says, I'm cornered, I'm going to take you on. And that was for me a moment when I felt like the film became real. We were going to go do something, and it was really powerful, really amazing. I really dug it.
I was just playing with frogs.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he comes into school and he's going to hire us as his hands. And he takes his sleeve and he wipes off the chalkboard and he draws a line across it in a diagonal thing. He says, this is a double O and this is Belle Fourche. And in between is 400 miles of hell or whatever he says. And he does an X. And the X is exactly perfectly positioned over that diagonal line. I know. It's amazing. Yeah.
And then the continuity people had to actually recreate that calligraphy on the blackboard 2 or 3 different times
And they
afterwards.
messed it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, I'm not sure about this, but I always thought that maybe one of the reasons, besides the problems with my acting, was that Buzz Henry didn't care for me on some level there was some chemistry between us that didn't work so good. So when it came time for the scene where I got to ride my horse into the Rio Grande to grab, the ropes slim, and everybody's watching this, right? The world has stopped for this scene, right? It's all set up and, there's all this stuff going on and, and I go action and I run my horse Goody, that was real good to me. He just sprinted to the edge of the river and just went, whoosh. No way I'm going in there, right? And I can hear, Mark yells cut, and it's a big deal. And I watch Buzz go over and and the next thing it's like, okay, where's the double? Let's get the double on the horse. I'm going, no, don't, give me one more chance, right? And I went back with Goody. One of the things I feel worst about that I've ever done, actually. I went back behind that stand of trees. And I scared the bejesus out of my horse. I basically went ape in the saddle. I started impersonating some wild beast. And I was talking bad things into its ear, and I was growling, I was hitting it on the top of the head and freaking the poor horse out. And he called action, and the horse went in the river and did the bit, right? And I was so grateful that I didn't get replaced, and that to me was one of the most important moments in the movie, and I got to do it because I threw my horse under the bus, and to just make it clear, Goody spent 2 weeks getting even with me over that, just making everything possible difficult, and try to get on him. Pioneering over here and pioneering over here, I paid the price, but I feel it was a fair trade-off to be able to do that scene on my own. That's me doing that scene. So.
Well, also when A drags me out of the river, your velocity
It was a little
quick, and I damn near drowned.
I apologize.
Yeah, you went under a couple of times.
I did. That was,
Was the water cold?
yes.
Ice cold, right?
Oh, yes.
And
Fast
that
moving.
river was full. Like, that was a big river.
You saw the cows moving.
Yeah. Well, I don't think what people realize is that you're actually in horses. Each horse has a different personality. You're actually in a river. River is moving. I mean, there was cattle, there was horses, there was water. There's stuff that happens with those things in play that you can't control. And I don't know if they still make films the same way today, but there was an edge of darkness when you're working with those animals and trying to pull off some of those scenes for the actors and also for the stunt guys.
Well, they're unpredictable. The
Yeah, very
situation's
unpredictable.
completely uncontrollable. And to your point about movies today, there's so much technology and stuff. I don't know if studios would sign off on letting a bunch of kids do that kind of stuff. There was potential for major disaster many times.
I was on a lot of sets with my father, but there were a number of times where they lost control of a horse or a mule when you see an animal that gets so frightened that it loses its mind and it starts going crazy, they need some space and they need some time to recover. And if you're in that little zone or that time period, you really could get hurt.
I'll tell you a quick story about, and I wasn't there, didn't witness it, but it was scattered around. Walter Scott, who's a stunt coordinator in Hollywood, who was in the Cowboys, he told me about it. And in the beginning of the movie, when his original hands are moving all the horses so fast, the music starts playing, when they're moving those cattle across, or those horses across there so fast. When they originally shot that, those horses were going 1,000 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And there was an old cowboy, which we all know, Casey Tibbs, was on that movie. So Casey Tibbs was in the front pushing these horses and keeping this thing going. And they had this aerial shot of it, and they're going 9-0 out there. Casey's horse runs a foot in a gopher hole. And over and ends, and they said they shot Casey out there over the top, and smoke, or I mean dust everywhere, excuse me. And they said all of a sudden, here comes Casey, and nobody walked like Casey anyway. Comes walking out of the dust pile, you know, and he was okay. So everything's unpredictable with animals, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's not cut and dry, and that was just one of the scenes, and that's why they hired us guys that knew how to ride, you know.
Trained professionals.
That's it.
Come on, be nice now. Be nice. I gave you a compliment. I gave you a compliment earlier. Don't forget that.
Could you just imagine owning that Holiday Inn and seeing this crew come in at, 14 to 20 with a movie company? They'd just be going, oh, man.
Insure everything.
Yeah.
Sean?
I was just going to say the same thing we were talking about, riding and maybe not being in danger or being in danger. So the scene we were running with the horses, and I'm getting a picture of all the kids. So we're driving, we're running with the, it's action, and we're going, and the truck, the camera truck, is on like 2x8s, like just running parallel. So the truck gets a speed, they spin and say take off, and we're take off. My horse is beating the truck. And finally, Red Burns, the guy who taught us how to ride, he goes, young man, have you forgotten everything? I said, no, I'm fine. And he goes, well, then control your horse. I passed the camera truck again. This time, everyone's getting kind of peed, and I went, uh-oh. And he came up to me and said, is there something wrong? I said, I am trying to control the horse, sir. This horse has its own head. I can't, I'm doing everything with my hand and nothing. And he goes, get off that horse. I said, yes, sir, get off the horse. And he jumps up on it, and he said, who put the bit in the horse's mouth? And he was angry because it made us look bad, let him look bad. And they tightened the cinch on the horse underneath his chin so tight that the horse went numb, and he was bleeding. So it was pretty tough. But these moments, these things can get out of control. So
Yeah.
it was,
I think we have a couple of audience questions now. We should be ready for, I think.
I've got a family member in the audience. My niece, Anita Swift, is sitting up there, and she asked a great question.
You guys were on set with a lot of fabulous Wranglers. You had Tap Canet. Oh, I'm sorry. You guys were on set with a bunch of fabulous Wranglers, Tap Canet, the Eppers, the Walter Scott, amazing people. And I mean, that must have helped you guys a lot. And seriously, Clay O'Brien Cooper, have a huge crush on him. Amazing. You guys were amazing in your roles, but you had some amazing Wranglers out there.
We couldn't have done Red Burns and the whole Wrangler crew, yeah. He had a way of, yeah. He was amazing. He was so soft-spoken, but he, kind of like Will Anderson, he was quiet, but it came out loud. I had a problem with the trotting thing, bouncing up and down, and he just had a way of saying things, just a few words. So he would say to me, don't let the horse throw you, you throw the horse. And that was just ding, and it just worked. But I want to talk about the Holiday Inn a little bit. We lived at the Holiday Inn, the Denny's, and the 7-Eleven, right? Denny's. They were all right there. No, flash forward 1995, I go on location to Santa Fe to work on Last Stand with Sabre River, Tom Selleck film. And things start looking really familiar, right? And it's the same Holiday Inn, totally remodeled. The Denny's was still there. One of the and Strickland, the Stricklands were the teachers on that movie as well. And we had this husband and wife team teachers. They happened to be the teachers on this film. Oh, wow. And they were like, Steve, And one of the drivers on that show was a driver on the Cowboys. Wow. And one day when I was off, he said, Steve, come here. A little surprise for you, right? So I jump in his car, and he takes me to the house, to the Will Anderson spread, and it's still there. Everything was still there, very dilapidated. It was kind of sad, actually. But it was like a ghost town, and all these memories came flooding back. It was quite something.
Like, how far would that drive be from where the hotel was to where that?
60 minutes?
Yeah, it was about. It was
an hour.
out there
Quite a
because they
ways,
wanted,
yeah.
of course, desolate.
Because when you see, when you look out from that house, I mean, it's a lot of.
Oh,
nothing.
that guy owned it was like 30,000 acres
Wow.
or something. Yeah, it was
There's a road,
huge.
Just about a quarter of a mile, there was a road, the highway was just right there, off the ranch.
Oh.
It was crazy.
Next question.
Yes, my name's Danny Gerald. I'm from Santo, Texas, and my question is directed to Cimarron. It's not the most intelligent question, but there's a lot of us in the audience have this need to know. What did you do with the residuals of that hunk of gold that Slim gave you?
That's a great question. No, in fact, I was just telling Bobby last night, that's my favorite work of what I did in the movie. To me, that was the scene that, you know, I feel the best about. And I think, you know, and Bobby pointed out that, you know, even though I never warmed up, you know, the best thing I could say to him was, as I took the fool's gold as well, I got no use for it. But while I'm saying that, I put it in my pocket and I gave it a little extra touch just to feel that it was in place, you know. So it was the first time you actually saw, you know, the character, you know, have like an inkling of softness come into his presentation. And I felt really, really good about that. I was so stoked about that scene, you know. I can't tell you how wonderful it was to get to do all this stuff. I mean, we just got to do all this amazing stuff. And you look at it last night and you go, yeah, that was amazing. And then there was that, and then there was this. I remember just, you know, I'm coming down this slope and I'm, cattle, and I'm, you know, feeling good on Goody, and come up and he comes in besides me, and, you know, we naturally fit together. It looks good on camera, and then I get all attitude and go off, and now he comes on this side, and it's a perfect match from the distance of this one. Just the choreography of it was just so in the pocket, and we didn't at that point have to work that hard to make it feel like it was in the pocket. So thanks for bringing that up. I love that scene, and you know, love getting to be a part of this thing. It's just a miracle.
There's something to be said about really doing something as opposed to faking it or computerizing it. Right. You know, it may not always work, but when it does, it's really important.
It's really important.
Well, also, I think that the camera, and of course the audience who's watching the movie, the camera records thought, it records reality, and the audience knows when it's real.
Yeah. Another question?
Yeah, I've been a fly on the wall the last couple of days, really enjoying these stories from everybody, but I want to make sure before we go away, you guys touch on two things. One of our favorite rodeo towns in the country, Belle Fourche, if you talk about that, and I understand they have some anniversaries going on up there. And then the other thing I learned last night that I thought was really intriguing was deleted scenes, that there are deleted scenes from the Cowboys, and if you guys would kind of talk about some of those scenes and what might be laying out there somewhere on the editor's floor.
And before we get started, can we thank that man, Patrick Gotch, for having us all out here and letting us do this.
Well, one other thing before I go, if you got this on? I was going to do this at the end of the show, but everybody's been having such a great time this week, and you guys really seem to be enjoying this. I'd like to invite you out to the NFR to be our guests, and we can do this all over again, either probably at Cowboy Christmas or at Resorts World or at the NFR. So you folks that are home that are watching this, stay tuned. We're going to put something together for the NFR, and if you're looking for something to do one of those 10 days in the afternoon, we're going to give you something to do. Maybe we'll have some screenings of the movie The Cowboys out there too.
Great. Thank you, Patrick.
Hey, Al, it's been a while since we've heard from you on that, and let's start with Belle Fourche. It's a great rodeo town. It's one of the PRCA's top rodeos every year. It's the hometown of yeah.
Mike, can I talk?
Yes, sir. Yeah, but the Garrett brothers, world champion bareback riders out there. It's a great cowboy town.
Absolutely. I started going there several years ago. I think Stephen Hudis went by himself the first year that anybody went back there. And Stacy Raisinin, my kudos to her, she and her husband own the Americ Inn in Belle Fourche where we always stay. They put us up there. And the Businessmen's Association brings us back there. So the second year we went, I think we had Mike, me, and Norman Howe. And then we ended up I went for like 6 years in a row or so, and I think the last year we all got together there. There was 6 or 5 of us that made it back there to Belle Fourche, and the most amazing thing is I never knew how many times Belle Fourche was said in the movie until the first time I went there and screened the movie with all the townspeople that loved us at the museum, kind of like we did in the park here. So suddenly you start counting because you're in Belle Fourche, and Belle Fourche starts having some credibility, and you're like, wow, look how many times they said that. And the townsfolk went nuts hearing it. So we're doing a 50th anniversary in Belle Fourche, August 19th and 20th. We'll be, as many of us can, will be there. And it's just an amazing town. The Garrett brothers, I mean, world champion bronc riders, and it's just a wonderful place, and it is the real Old West. But when Patrick mentioned deleted scenes, I just was thinking about, there was a scene, probably some of the most craziest roping I've ever done. Norman Hal and I were supposed to have a roping scene. And we spent a day out in the middle of the desert. They put a catch pen for the cattle, they put a rope and chute, and they put a set of boxes out there for us to back into. And the horses on this movie were not top notch, let me tell you. These things were runaway dinks. But they said, go rope these steers, go head these steers and turn them for Norman. Well, there wasn't really any such thing as turning. You know, now there's the whole thing about the angle and where you're turning your steers and stuff. There was no angle. It was just straight on, 2 horns, dally, and go. And Norman, I was like, dude, I can't do any better. I can't handle these steers, so you just got to be there. And we probably roped 40 steers that day in one way or another. But I'm looking out at cactus and rocks and everything. I'm thinking, this is the craziest thing I've ever done. But it was a hell of a day.
And I'm going to say one more shout out for Belle Fourche. And Mike and I talked about this last night. It's a great town, and they're great people there, and they really adopted the movie, and it's wonderful. But it's also great country. And Mike and I were talking about Deadwood, which is not far from Belle Fourche, and Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore, you know, as an American, going to see that, which I never probably would have done if I hadn't gone to Belle Fourche, was just an epic moment to go see Mount Rushmore. I mean, that was incredible. So it's a beautiful part of the country. So 50th anniversary in April, I'll be there.
They got a great governor.
August.
In August, excuse me, yeah.
But
I got carried away.
There were a lot of deleted scenes, actually, and they were expensive scenes, as I recall. I know there was a scene with a bear, I believe, at one point, a grizzly bear. There was a scene that probably took a week or a week and a half to shoot with Native American, with the Indians, where they had to bargain to cross their land, so they would negotiate or whatever. But they had thousands of extras and all these costumes, you know, and it just all on the editing room floor, because it would have been a 5-hour movie if they left everything in. So there was a lot that never made. I hope there's, on the re-release, I would assume they would have some deleted scenes available. But there was some great work that just ended up right on the floor, you know, editing room floor.
The wagon with the beautiful ladies inside, did you ever, does anybody know who those gals were? Because they were very attractive.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell us about it.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I can tell you what color hair they had. But
Ethan just won the award for best question of the show.
Well, they were speaking about large monuments in the United States.
But it's interesting. Whose girlfriend? A's girlfriend?
Was
Well,
she really?
Also Bruce Stern's
Because when I
wife.
watched it, I go,
Bruce
those
Stern's
girls
wife.
were truly beautiful. Like, they were great looking.
yeah, and I just want to point out, I mean, I'm not sure A knows this, but his wife was one of them, or his girlfriend at the time. Yeah. She stared at me the whole time.
Easy.
Easy. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Yeah, well, you know, we were having some trouble, her and me, and she
liked Mike.
She liked Mike. But you know, She's an actor, and I thought she did a good job in the part, pretending to like Mike.
That was real
I
acting.
mean, I know he was cute. I know he was cute. Even I thought he was cute.
All right, more questions from the audience.
My name's Layla Kimmick. I'm originally from Canyon City, Colorado, and now a Fort Worth resident. I've had such a pleasure of speaking with you all this weekend and learning so many cool things. I have some family at home watching right now, and they want to know the effect it had on your life making this movie afterwards, after you shot this movie, the impact it had, because it had to have a big one. For me, it did.
Well, I mean, for me, it gave me a career. I didn't have anything like planned. I was 17 at the time. All I cared about was driving my car a Mulholland Drive and playing my guitar. And this movie came along, and it started a career. I owe it to Mark Rydell. He gave me a career.
It was life-changing, certainly for myself, and I think I could speak for everybody here. It was just so pivotal in all of our lives, and it changed me. I became interested in cowboying, just like Stephen here. It allowed me to become a stuntman later in my career when the child acting thing was over, because people would recognize me and see me, and that kind of opened the door to other things. So it was a completely life-altering space and time for all of us. I think it's safe to say.
Yeah, and I just want to throw in there real serious that to spend 3.5 months with John Wayne, to see him every morning, if that didn't get deep inside you, man, at 14 years old, you got better. When you were around him, you wanted to be better. You wanted to walk taller. You wanted to do better. You wanted to say the truth. I learned so much just by watching him. And being there on set with him for 3.5 months was a lifetime true for a 14-year-old kid.
Wow, thank you, Mike Pyatt. That was very nice. But you got to be on Roscoe Lee Brown, John Wayne, Bruce Dern, Colleen Dewhurst, Slim Pickens. That has to be at the age that you guys were. He was a few years older than you guys, but still, you seemed like a scary dude until I met you here, and you were the nicest, sweetest man. I just want to say, really feel different about you now. You're a very nice guy. So glad we got time together later in life. But that had to just elevate it's like a master class in life, but also in your craft. And I hear A talking about his craft constantly, and it may look natural on the screen, but there's turmoil and angst and thought and desire to grow. And when you spoke about your scene with Colleen Dewhurst and how it's another door that opens, it's another level that you get to the next level. So.
And Bruce Dern in particular, I remember always, whenever I possibly could, to be paying complete attention to everything he did. It felt like going to school. It's like, oh, we get to actually watch this guy, for our lesson today. And he just. I wanted to say, I've spent a lot of time chasing him around the internet, just to hear him talk, and he does an episode of the Dick Cavett Show back in the day that's available on YouTube, where he talks about his process, and he mentions your dad too. He kind of gets a little bit into some of the stuff they went through to kind of try to find some stuff. And I mean,
I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, it's amazing. Bruce Dern is a treasure. He's an American treasure, and to be able to hear him talk right now is seriously.
Al?
I was just going to say that one of the things for me about this movie is you'll never see another movie that's made like this one. You'll never see another movie in the world with the reality that this movie had. When you see these guys sitting here, cowboys, actors, whatever you want to call us, whoever we are, these guys, every one of us were riding our own horses. These scenes that you saw were real. Riding among those cattle, coming down those hills, up those hills. That was us, the people you see here. That
Through those trees.
And through those trees. That was for real. And the reality of it was we were a bunch of young men growing up at a time with a father figure leading us and impacting our lives. And I just have to say that I love my dad, and my dad was my dad, and he was John Wayne-esque. But if I had another father figure to pick, John Wayne was my father figure, my icon.
Nick, you have something?
Well, again, how special the movie was, and just that we were a family. You know, the question before was we had great wranglers. Well, we had great wranglers, we had great grips, we had great makeup people. I mean, look at the makeup they did on John Wayne and on Bruce Dern after that fight scene. Those guys looked like they were just mangled. It was just a big family. And we had, the 11 kids had 11 stunt doubles. And 11, they were stunt doubles and stand-ins. And honestly, they did more stand-ins than stunt doubles because we got so good at riding. And we were such a family that I get touched saying this because yesterday someone comes up to me and it was RD, who was my stunt double. And he drove 18 hours. He drove 18 hours from Arizona. So that's, I mean, you know, that tells you the love, he had for the movie. And he was there to help me and there to support me as
Wave RD. Oh,
yeah,
we missed
you know,
we missed.
There's a lot of love.
There he is, there he is.
The gentleman sitting next to him is my stunt double named Clay Hunt. Clay,
Clay,
man.
say hello. They both came a long way.
Yeah, they came a long way.
Good to see you.
So those two guys were the ones that taught me how to rodeo, and we spent 2 or 3 years going to Little Britches rodeos in Pahrump, Nevada, and Elko, Nevada, and all over California. These two guys were really pivotal in helping me develop those skills, and big time.
Hey, so Al, you were talking about the reality on this show? Yeah, the reality. All of the night scenes that you see in this movie were shot on a soundstage.
Right.
So, for example, the fight scene between Bruce and Duke was shot on a soundstage. And when the bad guys get on horses and go riding out at a gallop, they were doing that on a soundstage. So as soon as they left the shot, they had to pull on the brakes big time.
Wow. You know, along with that, I was just going to mention a quick thing about your dad, is that, so the scene, no one really knows all this, but there's something that goes on, especially in these kind of films. These days, I don't know if they do this kind of stuff, but it's called looping, where you have to go back if there's a plane flying overhead or a sound or something they can't control in nature. So about 6-7 months after the film, they had a black and white print, and I get a call. I have to go over to the sound stage and do some looping. I said, oh, okay, it's cool. So I go over there, and there's the Duke, and I hadn't seen him in 6 or 7 months. I said, Mr. Wayne, good to see you. He goes, Sean, good to see you too. And I went, wow. So he's a presence. He was an amazing guy. But the truth of the matter was, he was also an amazing actor. I say that not because of his background, his history. So we have to loop the whole scene that everyone loves so much, you know, the swearing scene. That scene is completely redone. You see it lip synced. So it goes deet, deet, deet. You're wearing a headset and you have to say your lines and you have to find the place that you were or start from where you are at that moment. So it wasn't happening for me anyway. And so the Duke, we're in 2 little separate sets and glass windows. We can't see each other. We're looking at a screen, black and white screen, and looping the lines. Finally, we take a break, and Duke walks up to me and goes, hey, Sean, I got an idea. Why don't we step into that sound stage to get the little box together? He says, we don't move our bodies. We'll just face each other. You wear your headset, I'll wear mine, and we just look at each other. And that's how we did that scene. Here's to you.
Wow.
I've worked with a lot of actors, famous, infamous, you know, you name it, but there was none like him for graciousness, respect to the crew and the cast. But one thing that really sticks out in my mind is that I had a working career going on, and apparently an episode of Adam 12, I think it was, had aired locally. And the next day he said, "That was really good work, kid. Keep it up like that." I mean, that was nice. You know, he didn't have to acknowledge that at all. He was,
that was my question. Like for those of you who'd worked on other major motion pictures or with other big stars, was there, what did you notice different between a John Wayne set compared to a...
just that air of graciousness. I mean, he knew who he was, but he also appreciated who he was and how lucky he was. And he had such respect for all of us and the crew. I mean, he ate with the crew. He wasn't, you know, off in his trailer somewhere. And he was just real. He was genuine. He was the real deal. None like him ever again.
I have another question from the studio audience.
Hello, my name's Brad Gandy. I'm a local cowboy actor, probably because of y'all. Thank you very much. Also, I love the soundtrack. I use the soundtrack in my ears every time I go snow skiing every year. It's great motivational on the ski slope. And third, when y'all were, did you ever know that John Wayne was going to be killed in the script? Or did they let y'all know after the fact or the day of?
Well, most people don't know. The reason why he didn't read the script is he doesn't know how to read, actually. No. But, no, I had read the whole script through, so yeah, I mean, most of us.
Get it, boys!
I owed you that one, dude. But
what'd you do, Steve? Huh? What did you do, Steve?
But no, we knew the story. In fact, Nick and I, we could go verbatim the whole script, everybody's part, all the way through. So yeah, we knew, and it was still difficult to what? No, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah, got him back.
Okay, one more.
Hi, Paul Bush, just outside Fort Smith, Arkansas, home of Rooster Cogburn. My question is probably more for Cimarron, but what happened next? I see after the movie. We're talking about sequels. I see Cimarron possibly going home and getting a family, but what happened next after the end of the movie?
Oh, that's such a good question. You know, I'd had a little bit of, I'd been doing a few TV things, you know, and I had a little bit part in an Elvis Presley movie with Mary Tyler Moore, you know, harassing. She was a nun, and I was harassing her on the street. But you know, I was, you know, you go along and you're, you know, scrambling, and I mean, I couldn't believe I was getting to do anything. But then you get to do this. My dad's favorite actor. My dad and me were not getting along real great when this happened, and you know, the fact that I actually got to be in a John Wayne movie, like, sort of gave me, you know, like a little validation in terms of some of the things that he was probably wondering about in terms of why would I want to be throwing away my plans to do whatever to, like, try to be an actor. What is that? Who does that, right? And I just, you know, you spend 16 weeks making this movie with all these amazing people, and you feel your whole spirit turn into something else. You feel like you're a different person when you come out of it. And I called my agent. I said, you know, I don't want to be on TV anymore. You know, I want to make movies now because this is different. It's a different thing altogether, and I want to be that. I don't want to do this stuff anymore. And he goes, okay. So 11 months later, I called him up and said, you know, actually, yeah, you know, if something were to happen, if someone, you know, I might have misunderstood the situation, because I just, you know, I could not get arrested. I tried out for the part that Frederick Forrest played with Richard Widmark, When the Legends Die, and I tested for that, and I just couldn't believe that, you know, they didn't want to cast me in that part until I went and saw the movie and saw what Frederick Forrest did with that role, and I thought, oh, I'm still fooling myself in terms of what I'm capable of doing, and I need to get real to be able to survive. So that was, you know, it was a reality check. But despite all the problems and being the third choice and all this stuff, you know, it still exists. It still exists, and it still works, you know. Yep. And it's just one of the greatest experiences of all time. Yep. But thank you for the question, man.
Patrick?
We got about 10 minutes left. Again, I've been a fly on the wall last couple of days. Okay, guys, it's time to take off the gloves. All right, no holes barred. Let's hear some of these great stories behind the scenes about this movie, especially between the the 9 of you. Oh, and we should mention,
Well,
Clay O'Brien Cooper would be here this weekend, but his daughter's getting married. I'm getting a lot of emails asking where Clay O'Brien Cooper is.
And Norman, yeah. What about
Where's Norman? Yeah, Norman, he's working.
That's what we should be doing.
Okay, well, my friend Ronnie, who like told John Wayne to stand by the corral for 5 minutes while he went looking for me, and then later at the rap party, Ronnie was playing the guitar, and John Wayne said, "You're not all that on that banjo, kid." And Ronnie says, "Yeah, well, I hear you don't get on a horse as good as you used to either, you know, right?" And it turns out that they spent a lot of time together that night. Because Ronnie and the Duke, you know, they were like thick as thieves. Anyway, Ronnie, when he came out to visit me and bring my car, he also brought out some marijuana brownies. And one day, you know, I had the day off, and he says, "Well, you know, let's you know, get a buzz on the day." So I ate some of his brownies, and then I get either a call or I had misunderstood or something, and it turns out that I had to work that day. And of course, once you've put that into your body, you know, it's going to do what it's going to do. And, you know, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. And I remember that it was, the scene we had to shoot was when we throw down on Nightlinger. We, like, tackle him, and we, you know.
You were high for that?
I was high. And you can see it in my acting. I mean, I'm growling and throwing him down. I'm just overacting. I mean, it's embarrassing. But the worst thing was, I thought, oh, I got a close-up coming up, because you had to say, you know, we're going to finish the job, and he says you're going to get yourselves killed. But you walked up and you had that thing, and I was in the shot with you, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? You know, and I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll put my gloves in my mouth, because. That was my idea of a solution. I figured I'll have my gloves in my mouth, so you won't be able to really see it. My hair's all messed up, and you won't really be able to see me, and you won't be able to make a judgment on what the state of mind I was in, how high I was. But then, you know, eventually I had to take the gloves out of my mouth. Anyway, that actually happened, and I feel bad about it, but there was nothing I could do by the time I realized that it was a terrible mistake.
Okay, that was pretty good.
That's a good one. When you're on a location, they have a semi-truck that's got all these little rooms in it. It's called a honey wagon. And that's where we go to change our clothes and stuff. And apparently the guy that was driving the honey wagon liked motorcycles, because he had these little stickers stuck on the outside of the trailer with various motorcycles on it. And I saw this one sticker that said CZ, which is the Czechoslovakian dirt bike. And I really wanted that sticker. So I'm out there, I'm starting to peel the sticker off the trailer, and the guy walks up and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I didn't know he could see me. I didn't realize that Teamsters do not leave their trucks unless it's to get a cup of coffee or to have lunch. So the guy's sitting in his truck, and he's looking out his rearview mirror, and he sees this kid out there peeling the sticker off the trailer. Boy, was I embarrassed.
So we were out in Santa Fe, and Bobby's brother, can I tell this story?
Of course.
Bobby's brother David is going to come see him, I guess, and he's got Barbara Hershey with him, and we're doing the scene where we're running the horses, right? And all of a sudden, I stop, and I look behind me. We're getting ready for the camera, and there's this huge dust thing coming across that flat plane. And all of a sudden, I look, and it said, "Is that a car?" It's a Maserati coming about 100 miles an hour across the dirt plane.
It's a Ferrari. It wasn't a Maserati.
It wasn't? I thought it was. So then I tell this to Buzz Henry, the second unit guy, and he goes, "Oh, you like fast cars?" I said, "Well, I've never been in one, sir." He goes, "Well, I'll take you for a ride." And that afternoon or the next day, I think a lot of us went for a ride in his 65, that was a 350 GTB Ferrari. And
Actually,
it
it
was
was a 275 GTB4.
Who's counting?
Yeah, it was fast. That's all I remember.
And it was red.
You know, I remember a similar thing happened. One of the station wagons, because back then they didn't have vans to haul the cast around. They had station wagons. And the station wagon's coming across the plain with the big, you know, dust cloud behind it. And it's John Ford. And Mark Rydell jumps down off of the camera car, and he goes trotting over to the car because he wants to say hi to John Ford. You know, and John Ford came out to visit John Wayne. And John Ford rolls the passenger window down about that far. And before Mark can say anything, John Ford says, "I hope you're a better director than you were an actor."
It was a tough crowd. Because Mark Rydell was a great actor.
Really good.
Who's next on the confessional here?
Can we go back to the gals in that wagon?
I remember
this
when
day
we
I'm
were in
intrigued.
Pagosa Springs, the mayor of Pagosa Springs owned the 2 hotels we stayed at. They were old log cabin type hotels, the best I recall. And there was this young man that came through town. It was legal to have fireworks and bottle rockets and all the really cool stuff that's outlawed nowadays. So, being a bunch of young guys, we were pretty cool. We had our Coke bottles and our bottle rockets, and we had bottle rocket fights all over the place at the hotel. Well, the mayor kind of got concerned about his hotels burning down because they were old wood log cabin type structures. We didn't think anything about that. So he literally enacted legislation for the town while we were there to outlaw the sale of fireworks in the city limits of Pagosa Springs. So the guy that would sell us the fireworks would come by in his gray Chevy pickup truck, pick us up, take us about a mile down the road, which was outside of town, and sell us fireworks. We never stopped. We kept fighting and having a great time. The mayor wasn't happy, but it is what it is.
It's actually called the Al Barker Law, isn't it?
I think so.
Sam, touch on what they talked about. How did the movie change your life and have an effect on your life? You went on to the military. I know I talked to Cleo, and you know he went on to win 7 world championships. And I know my wife had a crush on him when she was a kid. You know, Clay probably could have had a pretty solid Hollywood career if that's what he wanted to do, but he didn't want much to do with it. But what was your mindset?
More than changing a lifestyle, it made me realize what I wanted to do out of life. I had always dreamed about flying. Well, I ended up getting married, and you know, what comes along with nice, happy marriages is babies. She was going to have a C-section. So me thinking, oh, well, I'll just join the military. I went in, became crew chief. About 2 years later, I went on ahead and applied to go to flight school and spent 25 years flying all over the world, having a ball at it. So anything that you do that you enjoy is not work. It's fun. And if they pay you, well, that's even better. So it was life-changing to me in the fact that it finally made me realize as a young man where I wanted to go with my life.
That's great.
And I'm proud of you guys being child actors. You didn't wind up on like True Hollywood Story or anything crazy.
Oh, yeah, like the whole on Skid Row, you know, used to be, could have been.
It's that cowboy side, gives you that
Well,
solid
you know,
background.
We spent our formative years under the tutelage of John Wayne.
Exactly right.
He taught us right.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Good.
And I'd like to say something else. You know, these guys have lives and they're busy, and they don't need to come here and do this. They came here, we asked, and they all showed up. And so I'd like to just say, on behalf of the Cowboy Channel, my family, my father, thank you guys taking the time out to come here and talk about this and share with us, because we're all interested. I was there, I was on the other side. I wasn't in the troop with you. I was on the location though, and I have my own fond memories of it. But what you got to experience was really special, and we appreciate you coming out and taking all our questions and talking to us about it. Thank you.
Yeah. Great stories. Great stories. So many people, Patrick Gotch, Ethan Wayne, so many people behind the scenes to put all this together. And of course you guys, the star attraction down that line. And there's some of the people that we need to thank down that line. But
well, we got to mention Jade.
Yep.
And we got to mention Cheyenne.
Yep, Jade and
We
Cheyenne.
got to mention Stephanie.
Amy.
Yep. Amy.
Got to mention them because they did it. And, you know, the Stockyards.
Oh, yeah, no, they've been great.
Craig
The whole
Cavalier,
town has been
Hotel
great.
Drover.
Yeah.
The Coliseum, everybody.
Yeah,
And
it's
all
really-
all these guys at the Cowboy Channel.
Yes.
Yeah, the Stockyards truly is the cowboy capital of the world, and John Wayne, the American experience, is a huge part of it. Huge
Well,
part of it.
we're excited to be here. I'm glad you guys got to walk through and see it today earlier. I hope you enjoyed it. There's some Cowboys stuff in there, and we'll keep changing and expanding and refining it as time goes by. So if anybody hasn't seen it, please come down to the Stockyards, enjoy the Drover Hotel, come sit in the audience at the Cowboy Channel, and come on into the John Wayne and American Experience exhibit. We'd love to see you.
As Patrick touched on, Las Vegas. Try to do it again during the National Finals Rodeo. So,
Has everybody been to the National Finals Rodeo?
No.
No?
No.
It's amazing.
What do they do there?
It's amazing.
It's
It's you think it's a rodeo? It's 10 laser beam focused days on Western culture. It's amazing.
And what's crazy about it, 2 members of the cast obviously have competed at the National Finals Rodeo. But thank you guys again. It's I think the thought that keeps coming back, I can't believe it's been 50 years. But thanks for being a part of it, and thanks for being here. Thanks, Ethan, and thank you guys for watching. And look for more on coming your way from Las Vegas. Thank you guys.
Appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the John Wayne Gritcast. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you like what you heard, give us 5 stars in the Apple Podcast app and follow us on social media at John Wayne Official.
Slap some bacon on a biscuit and let's go.